So Don, special brand, need a special guy to run it.
This is literally a dream job for me. When I look at kind of how I started out and my experiences, I literally could not have dreamed of having this kind of job. I mean, I was born in Mississippi. My dad was in the Air Force, but he wasn't a pilot. You know, he was a desk jockey, an enlisted man, and you know, relatively humble beginnings, I guess you could say. And you know, worked real hard, did well in school, and ended up going to General Motors Institute, which at the time was kind of like the West Point of GM.
So GM had its own university?
GM had its own accredited university. This is true. Yeah.
Now that falls under the heading of what's good for the U.S. is good for GM, what's good for GM is good for the U.S.
Even before I graduated from school, one of my last assignments was on the Corvette, sort of the technological tip of the spear for the company. We got to work on a lot of cool stuff, and so as a result, you know, I was in a position to, even before I had graduated, go to Germany to participate in systems meetings with Robert Bosch, because they were our supplier for ABS, and working with them. And it was interesting because my dad was in the Air Force, so having lived in Germany, you know, I could speak a little bit of the language, and the German engineers were a little...
Sie Deutsch?
Ja, aber nur ein bisschen, nicht so viel.
Ich habe in Deutschland gewohnt.
Ah, sehr gut.
Something
So the
really odd
engineers-
about sitting in a Cadillac talking German.
But in a way, maybe appropriate. So the engineers were kind of a little bit taken aback, you know, when they see this young black guy speaking German in these meetings. So that was very, very cool. So when I graduated from GMI, my first job literally was as a ABS and traction control release engineer, design release engineer for Corvette. And those were really fun days. That was when Dave McClellan was the chief engineer, and we were literally our own team. Almost in a sense, one of the first vehicle line teams, and now, you know, that's how we run the business. We have vehicle line teams, but that was really the first time that we got, you know, folks from different functions together, and we were all part of the same group, and there was a lot of camaraderie. Obviously, with Corvette, just a lot of
So you were 21,
positive energy.
22, engineer on a Corvette.
Yeah.
If that's not a signpost to do well in school, I don't know what is.
And even you know, the fun part about it was, as a release engineer, you know, you have to drive competitive vehicles too. So, you know, I'd be bringing 928s home and RX-7s and...
21, 22?
Yeah.
You had to beat the ladies off with a stick.
I say this is my dream job, the Cadillac job. Coming out of school, you know, I've been blessed. I mean, that was such a great opportunity for me. But in a way, it was kind of like a blessing and a curse, because, you know, where do you go from there, right? So I decided to go the MBA route, and was fortunate enough to be accepted into Harvard. Got my MBA.
So Mr. Corvette Engineer.
Mr. Corvette Engineer
gets an MBA from Harvard Business School.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Blessed is an understatement, my friend.
So, graduating from Harvard and getting ready to go back to GM, I was sponsored on a fellowship, and I was an analyst, and was looking at, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars, billion-dollar programs that were coming through for approval, and, you know, assessing, you know, the volumes and the market, and is this going to make it, and, you know, doing discounted cash flow analysis, and just, so I did that for a couple of years, and really wanted to get closer to the product. Went to work at Pontiac.
Nice. Near to my heart.
Yeah. Actually, my earliest co-op assignment before I went to Corvette was at Pontiac. This was back in 1982 when Bill Hoagland was just named the general manager. And if you remember, we built excitement.
I remember.
And Pontiac kind of refocusing as a brand. And
82 Trans Am.
Yep,
was new
exactly.
T-tops,
Exactly.
And then 84 Fiero, which I owned one. I loved it.
Really?
Yes, I did.
See, that's what sold me on going to GMI, because they brought me up on a recruiting trip, took me to Pontiac, took me to the Fiero prototype factory, and showed us this space frame construction, which I had no idea what a space frame was.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a 17-year-old kid, right?
So you were on a recruiting trip when you were in high school to GM?
Yeah,
looking at the prototype Fiero.
Yeah.
Can I
And
just say I hate you? I really hate you.
So I looked at that, and this was 82. The car came out in 84, and I was just blown away. First by how it looked, because 2-seater, really sporty, never seen anything like it, and the fact that I was seeing it years before it was going to reach production. I mean, that was just like,
That's
okay,
slam dunk right
this is what I want to be a part of. So I mean, it's kind of ironic. So kind of circle back in terms of my career, back to Pontiac, early 90s, and was the marketing manager / marketing planner on the Grand Am for literally the next about 5 or so years, working on a lot of different vehicles, and this is again, if you want to talk blessing and curse. So I was the first marketing director for the Pontiac Aztek.
Oh,
See, you didn't know you were going to
man,
get all this juicy bits,
how
did
the
you?
mighty fall. Ouch. Corvette to Aztek. Someone didn't like you at GM.
So from a marketing standpoint, my challenge with that vehicle was, hey, I've got something unconventional here, to say the least. So how do I kind of break through in a compelling way? And so we were searching for the right kind of vehicle to get to separate ourselves and to show that we're distinct and different. And so we needed a platform that was distinct and different. And there's this producer named Mark Burnett. And if that name sounds familiar, he's the producer of Survivor. So we were one of the first sponsors of Survivor.
Wow.
I remember him sitting in our agency offices. At that time, it was Darcy, and pitching the idea. He was bringing it over from England, and I'm sitting there thinking, it's crazy, but I think he's onto something.
Well, he has a unique business model because
Yes.
he doesn't just sell it to the network. He gets the advertising.
Yes.
He buys the advertising and then resells it to you.
Yes, that's true. That's his model now. At the time, he was literally a young upstart producer, just
So
trying
you were
to get
both
in the
ahead of your
business.
time.
We were both ahead of our time. He's moved on.
Yeah, and
Of
you
course,
moved
I
on
moved
too.
on too. So after that great experience, moved on to OnStar. And then you say OnStar. How does that come into play? And well, again, my degree was electrical engineering, and I've always kind of been, in addition to loving cars, I've always been kind of a techie, just keeping up with what's going on in the technology space, and had an opportunity to go run planning and business development for OnStar, which was, again, another very, very cool assignment. And so working on things like turn by turn and downloadable destinations and just some of the next, moving OnStar beyond safety and security.
I'm getting, just by putting all this together, I'm getting that you are Mr. Trailblazer. You like taking on roles where it hasn't been done before.
That's when it's more fun,
Obviously.
right? I mean,
Life is better when on a mission.
Agreed. I don't know how I get these dream jobs. I don't know how or why it happens. I'm grateful.
Let's not forget Aztek, we're talking
Well,
Aztek here.
yeah. I guess you could say I've paid my dues. Then came the opportunity to go to Egypt.
Egypt.
Wow, that's what I said too.
Yeah.
Because I knew, and I'd prepared my wife. I said, probably at some point, if I stay with the company, I'm going to have to do an international assignment.
Not a bad
And so we were kind of laying the groundwork, and so I come home and I said, honey, how would you like to go to Egypt? And she said, do you mean Switzerland? No, Egypt. A fascinating job, just a tremendous opportunity. So I was the managing director for General Motors Egypt, which means I ran our total operations for the country.
So you had a whole business unit at this
A
point.
whole business unit. So manufacturing, purchasing, finance, marketing. I mean, literally it was a business. The MD jobs, managing director jobs, are some of the best jobs in the company because you do essentially get to run your own business. And
You were there in total?
from '05, beginning of '05 till the end of '07, so almost 3 years.
Yeah.
And then came back and ran Chevy truck marketing right when the truck market was collapsing in 2008.
Again, great time.
And then actually moved back to OnStar to do the global deployment for OnStar, first in China, which is going really, really well. And then honestly, we, at that point, this is in '09, bankruptcy. So I'm in charge of OnStar Global, only with U.S. government dollars. They don't want those dollars going globally. So kind of my reason for being sort of went away. And, they were looking to place me somewhere else, but I said, you know what, maybe it's time to do something different. A company named Enrix, which is a technology startup, they do traffic data services. So, the green, red, and yellow tiles on your nav system that indicate traffic flow. Enrix is the kind of the back office behind a lot of that data. So the CEO calls me up because he hears I've just left OnStar, and he says, "Hey, would you maybe be interested in chatting and seeing if there's a fit?" And so I went out and loved the company. And again, bold, blazing new trails, part of something new. Really fit my personality. Loved Seattle. Was coming back about every other weekend to visit. The idea was the family was going to move out after school. And it just so happened that in Detroit Metro, headed down the escalator on my way back one time, I run into Mark Royce. And Mark had recently been named head of GM North America.
Yeah.
And Mark sees me, he's like, "Hey, how are you?" I'm like, "Good. Hey, congratulations. I wish you all the best." And he's like, "Hey, I've been looking for you. Where are you?" And I'm like, "Mark, I left." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "I left." He's like, "Well, give me your contact information." So then a couple of weeks later, I get this call, and he says, "Hey, I want you to think about coming back." And I'm like, "Mark, my heart's with GM. You know that. I bleed GM, but I've set out on a different path. I wish you all the best. If there's anything I can do."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, just think about it." Mark calls me again a week later, and he says, "I'm starting to put my team together," because he had been there about 90 days, actually right at 90 days, and he had a plan of how he wanted to organize and who he wanted to be kind of on his team. And he said, "What would you think about running Cadillac?" And I was like, "Let me get back to you, Mark. I need to think about it." Inside, I'm thinking, whoa, are you kidding me?
That answers the question of where do you go after the Corvette?
You go to Cadillac. So since March of 2010, I've been with Cadillac, and it's nice to be at a brand that is truly on the ascendancy. And
Now let me give you a little feedback here. Love the CTS. CTS V Coupe is probably one of my favorite new cars nowadays. Just needs a little bit weight reduction. I'd say about 500 pounds off that car, you'd be right there.
that would be something you'd love to drive, wouldn't it?
I already love driving it now. I'm not gonna lie to you. But 500 less pounds?
I hear you. I hear you. So let me tell you what we're going to be doing. Next year, 2012, we'll be introducing a new, smaller, lighter Cadillac, but it will be rear-wheel drive. It will be a very nimble vehicle, great handling vehicle, terrific power capability. We will have a manual transmission available as
Absolutely.
well.
I'd have you fired if you didn't.
If you're going to be a driver's vehicle, you need a manual transmission.
Absolutely.
You have to have a manual transmission. And so it'll be different than anything that Cadillac has ever done.
Is that going to have this V6?
This V6 will be one of the engines that's available. We'll also have a 4-cylinder turbo that will be
Really?
available as well. Yep.
Nice.
I mean, you can see the direction that things are going in terms of smaller displacements, turbocharging. The key is you've got to be able to spool it up pretty quickly so that you don't have to get the revs up so high before the power kicks in. And so,
Is this an all-new engine you're doing?
It will be a new engine. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And then, so on the small and sporty side, we've got something that's coming next year. Again, that will be very different than anything that Cadillac has ever done. And then on the large side, we're going to still do a quote-unquote traditional large vehicle, but it's going to be a modern re-expression of what a true Cadillac large luxury vehicle should be, and that'll be the XTS.
When are we going to see that?
Again, 2012. That will be a super vehicle for us. All of the luxury, all the comfort, but nonetheless, it still has to be a vehicle that's capable on the road. Obviously, the emphasis is going to be more on luxury than performance, but it's going to be a surprisingly stunning vehicle. If you've seen the XTS concept,
Clay did a beautiful job with that car.
Clay Dean did a wonderful job with that vehicle. The production vehicle, let me just put it this way, it will not disappoint. So great.
I'm going to hold you to that.
All right.
2012, you and I are going to have this conversation again.
We should. And then you'll let me know, did we build a truly tossable Cadillac?
We will.
Okay.
I will do that.
Sounds good.